It's me, Richie T here. I want to talk about a very special event going on. It is Peter Breinholt going to be in concert at Layton High School. That's here in Utah. Exact address, 440 North Wasatch Drive, Layton, Utah. It's a big concert that's going on to benefit Whitesides Elementary. You can find online information at whitesidespta.com. Tickets may be purchased in advance there. You can also call 801-837-7835 for details. But it's a huge thing. They're doing all sorts of donations for Whitesides Elementary School. Also, they're going to have a silent auction. And best of all, it's Peter Breinholt. You love Peter Breinholt. You know Peter Breinholt. We've had him here in the Cultural Hall. He's a guy who does our You Can't Lose articles of news and the Cultural Hall outro, the whole thing. It's Peter Breinholt, a really good friend of this show. So if you're in the area, you're around Layton, you want to make the drive, go see Peter Breinholt Friday, April 12th. At the Layton High School Auditorium. It's time for a very special episode of the Cultural Hall. It's me, Richie T, and joining me on the phone from, I'm embarrassed. I didn't even ask you where you were driving.
Where am I driving?
Yeah, where are you driving right now?
I am driving to South Jordan right now.
Okay. It's Al Fox. Now, you might hear that name and go, okay, I don't know who that is, Richie, and then, immediately turn this off. But don't. You've probably seen her blog that's going all over Facebook and all over the internet. I saw it on Twitter yesterday several times. She is the author of the blog Tattooed Mormon, and you can find her at her blog spot, which is Al. Oh, help me out here, Al. I had that right in front of me, and now I've forgotten.
What, my blog?
Yeah, your blog spot. Tell me.
Oh, it's alfoxeshead.blogspot.com.
There it is. I didn't want to... But what?
I knew someone was going to read my blog. I would have named it something different. Who knew?
You got to always be thinking. You never know. And especially with with the blog that you have written, and we'll get into it. It's called Tattoo Mormon, and I want to get to that in a little bit. But let's go backstory, because that blog doesn't tell too much of who you are. So let's start here. How old are you, Al?
I am 24.
Okay. And if I understand correctly, a convert to the church?
Yes.
So let's talk about your conversion story. How were you introduced to the church?
Oh, well, I met the elders back home in New York, where I'm from Rochester. I saw the elders on the street, and they came up to me, and they said, "Hey, do you want to know more about Christ?" I said, "No."
No, absolutely not.
No, not at all, because back home, religion is kind of silly. And so I told them if they brought me a steak dinner to eat, I would listen. And I thought, who would do that? Surely that'll get rid of them, right? And they did. They actually did. So I felt obligated, and that's how it started, essentially.
And how old were you at this time then?
It was a few weeks before my 21st birthday.
Okay. So
back in 2009.
And what kind of steak was it they brought you?
I don't know. It wasn't even cooked.
Oh, really?
I didn't even end up eating it. I forgot it was there. It was in my freezer for about a year.
So these elders, they really take you up on either the steak dinner thing. They show up. Is that how it happens? So they come back to where you were and say, "Here's your steak, here's your baked potato," that thing?
They came back that day to talk with me.
That's awesome. So the obligation, you feel like they kept their part of the deal, and then you sat down. So where is this at? Is this at your house or?
This is outside of my apartment back home.
Okay.
And so we met every day because I loved how I felt around them, but I still didn't want to listen. And so I would try so hard to talk about anything except what they wanted to talk about. And so one day they actually brought over the Restoration DVD. It's the short version of the first vision. And I was like, man, no way did this happen. And so I said in mock, in challenge, I want to go there, thinking I couldn't, right? And I could. Turns out I was about a half hour away from Palmyra.
Mm-hmm.
So I found out in the sacred grove, against my will, that Heavenly Father, not only is He real, but He answers prayers, because my elders, they made me pray. And I was so uncomfortable, and I felt so awkward that I repeated after them. That was my first prayer. And that's how it began, because I started to care because of that prayer.
So what's your upbringing like? Is your family religious? You said religion, kind of where you're from, is silly. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, we grew up Catholic, and so we would do as a small child, we would do Bible camp, Sunday school. But for most I can remember, it was maybe an Easter, Christmas kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, he's not religious at all, but he would like us to have some sort of standard and moral, so he supported that. But my dad is not really religious at all, and my family, they don't really go to church at all now that we're grown up.
Have any of them expressed interest in the church since you joined the church, or have they all kind of said, that's Al doing Al's thing?
Well, no, that's how it was for years for most of my family members. One of my sisters, who was pagan at the time, she got baptized shortly after I did. And now she's married to the temple. So she went from Catholic to pagan to LDS.
And that's a path, huh?
Yeah.
And is that older sister or younger sister?
I have two older sisters, so I'm the baby, which means I'm the rascal of the family. It's very true.
So they're kind of taking your example. That's interesting with being the youngest that it would go that way. Normally, I think it would go the other way.
Yeah, but I'm super stubborn and super independent, and I always did what I wanted to do, and it's kind of neat that,
Yeah,
pick up on that.
For sure. So you decide to join the church. Was that? Yeah. I mean, you say things like it's against your will, and I'm sure that I'm sure that you don't absolutely mean that, obviously. What was the deciding factor? You mentioned how you felt when you were talking with the elders, but what was it that made you finally go, all right, this is it?
Well, if you think of New Yorkers as being semi-stubborn, you would be very accurate in describing me. Mm-hmm. And I thought people turned to religion if they were having a hard time or if they were searching for something. And at this point, at age 20, I really thought this was the happiest I would ever be in my life. I thought I could do everything on my own, and I didn't need help from anything or anyone. And so when this came up to me, I'm like, I don't need that. I can do it all on my own, Mm-hmm. And I was a rascal of an investigator. I don't know how many of you listening had ever served a mission, but I was the one you thought would never get baptized, like in a million years.
Yeah, but why do you say that though? Like, what do you mean? You went define rascal. I mean, I get it.
I fought it. I wasn't interested. People usually, when you take the lessons, there's a hint of interest, and that was a fair thing. Not that I recognized, at least.
But you kept allowing the elders to come back, though, so it seems like there would have had to been at least some sort of interest, right? Somewhere.
Yeah, I think I justified it and put reason on other things, like I just liked how I felt around them, or, they were just funny. But, I would listen to them just so they could keep coming back. And mm-hmm. So the day I decided to get baptized, it came out of nowhere. I woke up at 4 a.m, and I couldn't go back to bed, and I didn't know why. And so I called my elders because I truly thought they were the smartest people in the world. Mm-hmm. It's because of how I felt around them, but because they had an answer for everything. And so when they answered, I didn't know what I was going to say, and I yelled at them. And I yelled, I want to get baptized. And I was so shocked and embarrassed, I just hung up the phone. And it really came out of nowhere that they were more confused than excited. They called me back, and they're like, what? Why? What happened? So when I said it, and I felt it, and I knew that's what I needed to do. And I was embarrassed still, so I just hung up the phone on him. It was probably a very awkward conversation to get yelled at and then hung up on.
I love kind of picturing that in my mind, just, it being really, really early in the morning, even for missionaries, and getting a phone call. I want to get baptized. Oh, see ya. Click. What did you know about the Mormon Church before you met the elders?
Nothing. I didn't know a single thing.
You hadn't even heard any sort of rumors or, isn't the Mormons, nothing?
No, I saw a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, but I had never seen the Mormons, and I had no idea because Palmyra was so close, and there's Pageant and so much history. But if you don't know anything about the church, you didn't even know that town existed, which I didn't. I hadn't the slightest idea. So
you end up joining the church. By the way, who are these elders, and where are they from?
Elder Garrett Dessain, who's in Midville, Utah, and Elder Paul Irwin, and I don't know where he's from originally, but he's out here for school in Provo. Okay. Or Oremish. And
so have you seen these elders since they came home and since you moved out to Utah?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did a video with the elder that baptized me on last year, my 3-year anniversary on YouTube. So there's a video of him and I together. And we keep in contact. It's hard not to with Facebook and everything.
Yeah, what's your YouTube channel if people wanted to check out that video?
22 Al Fox.
Okay. Now, so let's get to the moving to Utah part. So you've never heard of the church. Okay. You yell at the elders in the middle of the night, I want to get baptized. So then what?
So I got baptized. I was terrified. And a long story short, this is the story I give in an hour Fireside. It's So I'll cut to the chase. I lost a lot of my friends, all of my friends really, and most of my family members, they wanted nothing to do with what I was doing. So just turning 21, living on my own in downtown Rochester, New York, what do? I go out teaching with the elders every day. And so I wanted to go on a mission. And I thought, surely, that is a righteous, good thing to want to do. And my answer would be yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I prayed about it, and my answer was move to Utah. And I was so mad.
You're like, what? You mean like a mission call to Utah? Okay, that'll do. No, wait, you just mean move to Utah.
Yep, just moved to Utah, and I tried to fight it. I forgot Utah was a state until I met all these elders.
So your friends kind of abandoned you. Was it just like the church is too weird, or what are you doing, or was it because you were changing who you were?
Several different things. They wanted nothing to do with it, but the some people that didn't care, I couldn't be around it anyways. Your interests change, and you're not doing the same things. You don't want to talk about the same things. Back home, our culture is very different. The problems that seem very big socially are you don't deal with when you're a member. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the contrast really is huge, but it just didn't fit, and they didn't want to be around it. They didn't, and I couldn't be around it. It's weird and difficult. So everyone just left.
Yeah, so it's like phew, gone. So then you're like, Utah. Okay, you don't know that Utah's a state, which I love. I think that's so awesome. It's like, let's see, it goes Colorado, Nevada, California, working our way. Oh wait, there is a state. It's Utah in the middle there. So you come out here. Is that as simple as it was?
It was the most difficult thing I had ever done in my life.
How come?
Well, because of the warnings I received, and it's hard to pick up your whole entire life to fit your whole entire life and fit it into a 2-door Oldsmobile, and just the idea of leaving behind the only way of living that you knew of, and leaving behind your family, and knowing that it's not a mission and it's not going to school where there's a thought of eventually making it back home. It was going and it was staying. And to know that and to hear people tell me not to go, it was very intimidating.
Why did they tell you not to go?
Because of how I look. They thought I was naive to, get baptized and move to Utah. And so they discredited my answer. And having, and looking the way that I do, a lot of people who live outside of Utah are very anti-Utah and usually don't have good things to say or good experiences. And so all of the responses from everyone was, don't go, like, you will not fit in. Like, no one will like you out there. And golly, that was tough.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, that, like you say, that picking up your entire life. And did you know anyone here in Utah?
No, I didn't know anyone.
And you also talk about how you look. So let's describe, your blog obviously gives some indication that you have tattoos, but let's talk about it for people that couldn't see a picture right now. What are we talking tattoos? Like you got a butterfly on your ankle?
I have a full sleeve on one arm, a half sleeve on the other, and my back, my stomach, my legs, my feet, pretty much everywhere.
and is there meaning behind the tattoos that you got, or when did you start getting tattoos?
Well, it's hard to find someone without a tattoo back home in New York, in our city.
But pretty easy to find. But pretty
Yeah.
easy to find someone that doesn't have, full sleeves and all over their legs and stuff like that. There are people who get tattoos, but certainly not to that degree.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you're 16, you think everything's cool. And so I started then, and I didn't think anything of it. So some of them, they have meanings. Most of them have funny stories more than anything.
Just kind of memories that go with them?
Yeah, I guess. And so that's just how it happened. So I got them when I was a young teenager and didn't think anything of it. And then when I met the elders, I didn't know anything was bad. I didn't know anything about commandments, really. I knew I shouldn't kill anyone, but there's not really any standards when you don't have a religious upbringing. Mm-hmm. Just use best judgment and live life however you want to.
And so how did it first get introduced to you that maybe tattoos were something that the church, had issue with, I guess?
Well, the elders told me, like, you shouldn't do that. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Al, we'd like you to eat your steak dinner, and we want to let you know you shouldn't tattoo your body.
Yeah, they were bold with me, and it's from the East Coast. We deal with bold all the time, so it's fine. But when I first got baptized, I knew that I shouldn't get any more because I knew and I understood the knowledge of prophets. And I knew that that is how God speaks, like through the prophet. That is literally God speaking. And those are his words that he's telling them. And I knew that I shouldn't get any more. And at the time that I knew that, right after baptism, I still had other ideas that I wanted. And I wanted to finish ones that aren't finished. And I didn't because I knew that I shouldn't. But, as time goes on, it was interesting to see how things changed because the more I learned, the more I tried and grew in the church, unconsciously, my desires completely shifted. And I literally woke up one day and it wasn't an interest of mine anymore. It wasn't an issue. I didn't think about it. I didn't want them anymore. And that's what happens when you live the gospel. You change and you become better and you have that different vision.
Has it ever been to a point where you are disgusted or like that you look at them and go, oh man, I'm going to get these taken off? Is it to that degree or how do you look at the tattoos you have?
First. It wasn't until I moved to Utah that I thought about them all the time. And there was times, where, days where I didn't feel as strong as other days. And I would wear like a stocking, like a nude colored stocking and wear it on my arms. And that was just so unrealistic. It was so hot.
Yeah.
But some days I couldn't deal with the stares because I wasn't strong enough yet. I just was barely baptized and I didn't know anything about the church. And I was still trying to experiment and figure it out. And I did that. But, now it's not like that. I don't even know that I have them most of the time. And I think a lot of people who, once they meet me and talk to me, they don't really notice I have them after, a certain amount of time anyways.
You share an experience in your blog about when you first came to Utah. Would you be willing to share that experience here?
Sure, I can. So my very first day in Utah, having known that this was the most difficult thing I'd ever done, and I didn't want to be there. My very first day, I go to Cafe Rio because I just love tacos. And so, you have to visualize this. When you wait in line, it kind of snakes around. So when you wait, you're in a big group of people. I was right in the middle of this big group of people, right? And I was sitting, I was standing there waiting, and I was holding a church book in my hand.
What church book was it?
It was a biography on one of the prophets.
Okay.
And I was just sort of holding, hugging it, grasping it in both my arms up against my chest, and I just felt so tense. And you know how you can feel someone staring at you from behind? You just feel it. It's like lasers. So that's how I felt, except I felt them, in every direction. I just felt like the lasers were everywhere, and I felt so tense. And it was really hard because I didn't know if the tacos were good or the burritos and then the lasers. It was rough. And finally, this guy next to me, he hits me on the arm to get my attention. He taps me on the arm and he goes, "Hey, it's pretty ironic you look the way you do holding that book."
Which is awesome. Way to go, that guy. Jeez.
And my heart broke. My heart absolutely broke. And so many different emotions just ran through me. How mad I was and upset and offended and hurt. I was really just hurt to know that, I gave up so much to be where I was. I gave up so many people that I loved, family members even for a long period of time, and so much sacrifice even just for the move. But, so much change. I had to change literally everything about my life, not just habits, but the way I thought had to be different. And I wanted people to see that, and they couldn't. And it broke my heart because I was trying. And that's all I wanted was people to see that I was trying, and they couldn't.
So then what did you do?
I had to make that decision. And like I said in my blog, it's a decision we have to make, not just every day, but several times a day. And that's, you have to choose. You have to choose to get mad and offended and bothered or confused or not. It's a decision of choosing happiness, choosing to keep going and follow the Spirit, and choosing to trust and have faith or not. And what it always comes down to, in every situation, it's choosing God or not. And, once I gave up friend after friend and, and family member, I already chose who I wanted to follow. That is what happens when we get baptized. So I turned to him, and I just smiled. I smiled so big, genuinely, and I shook his hand and I said, "Hey, I'm Al Fox. I just got baptized. This is my first day here." and realizing that everyone is at different spots in their life. Everyone needs to learn different things, different ways. And if I got mad, it would only prove what they thought was right. And that's not me anyway. I'm happy. And so I thought maybe I could be the one to teach by example. And that's something I try and live by every day, which started, all of my efforts online and my speaking engagements by example.
What happened with the rest of that conversation? So you turned to him after he said what he said, and you say, "I'm Al Fox. It's nice to meet you. It's my first day here, and I'm just barely converted." Then what happened?
So the rest of the story, which isn't on my blog, is he felt silly, like a lot of people would. And he bought my lunch. And he said, "Welcome to Utah." And, it's kind of funny because I ran into this same man a year later.
Wait a minute. Really?
I really did.
How?
I saw him at someone's house, and he came up to me, and he said, "This is going to be a stretch, and you probably don't remember, but are you from New York?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you remember eating at Cafe Rio, probably like your first day here-ish?" And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, little do you know, man, that I tell this story so frequently, it is unreal. At this point, I'm flying and traveling all over telling this story, 4 times a week in Fireside for the past 2 years. And I said, "Yeah, I do remember that." I said, "Well, that was me." And, I'm a stake president over here in this city, and I have told that story at so many conferences, state conferences. And I'm like, well, sheesh, maybe we just needed this story to teach. But yeah, he ended up being a stake president, and he too tells that story. I don't know where he is now. This was probably about 2 years ago I ran into him again.
Oh my gosh.
But pretty wild. But he did end up apologizing and buying my lunch that day.
Well, and here's just a random question that I like to know answers to. What'd you get for lunch?
I got a steak salad.
Oh, there you go. So this guy, see, when I read the story online and when I was thinking about it, I thought that this person was a younger person. This guy was an older gentleman?
Yeah, maybe 40s or 50s.
Yeah, and everyone who's 40 and 50 is listening going, "I'm not old. Come on, Al Fox, I'm not old."
Older.
Or elder more than me. Older than I am. Wow. And so, I think about that and I really focus on what you say, where it's like we make the choice of what we want to do, how we react. And I think it's so interesting because in the moment you could have chosen to decide, you know what, I'm angry, or man, this was the wrong thing, or whatever. But
yeah.
but this very experience has now kind of framed your life, and and with different.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, go ahead.
And it's not that I didn't have those thoughts. Of course I had those thoughts in my head where I wanted to yell at him and just be like, what I just went through. And just scream. And even yesterday and the day before, some of the comments in response to this, people said, it wouldn't be that difficult if you wore long sleeves for the rest of your life, so we don't have to make those stairs. And, those thoughts run through my head of, that's what the atonement's about, and how unrealistic it is to live in a desert and wear long sleeves for the rest of my life just so they can be excused from their narrow-mindedness, those thoughts are there, but it's how you react and how you rethink, and it's up to us to rethink of how we want to live. That's what matters, how we live.
The other part of it to me, though, is it's, the experiences that you had, and let's take it as a symbol of these tattoos, those, the tattoos that you have, the experiences that you had before you found the church is what led you to be the amazing person that you are now within the church. And I have a hard time with people who think that members of the church need to be a specific way. Certainly we need to, live by the commandments and the word of wisdom and chastity and all of those things. And those things can be similarities, but, you can be different and you can have a different past than someone else. And it doesn't make you greater or make you less than any other member of the church.
Exactly.
And I just
exactly.
I just think it's awesome. As I read the blog and I read your story and then just the countless amounts of people reaching out to you saying, "Yeah, you bet. Yeah, thanks for sharing this. What a great blog." All those things. I was like, I want to be able to visit with her. So what's you're doing these firesides all the time. And what's that like?
Yeah. Man, it's really humbling to say the least. It's something I started about 2 years ago, and it just came, in response to my blog and my videos. Just when they were barely getting started out, people would ask me, and I would do it, here and there, and not think anything of it. And then they never stopped asking me. And the past year and a half, I speak at least 3 times a week. And, at first it started in my valley, and then it started, all over the state. And now I'm flying to different states, and it's incredibly humbling. And I don't know, I just love it.
So how does that work out? I've always wondered it's kind of like a fireside circuit, I guess, really, that you get kind of on a fireside circuit and then people start to pick you up and you go all over the place. Do they say, "Hey, we want to fly you out here," or do you do it? Or, how are you able to do all that?
At first, because I work full time still. And so this is all in my free time at nighttime where I would travel and drive on my own. And I would do that. And, I don't ask for money. I didn't ask for anything. I do it out of service and out of passion. And it got so frequent, I started to go very broke and having a lot of car problems and putting a lot of miles. And so how it works, what it comes down to is I make sure everyone does it prayerfully. And if they do, and I trust that they do, I know that Heavenly Father set it up for one reason or another, and I take confidence in that. I just accept anyone who asks me. And if they're willing to pay for compensation, gas compensation, or a flight, then that's fine. Sometimes I can't. I can't afford to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But Heavenly Father, He calls you to certain places, and I will willingly make that sacrifice and have it be fine. Because what a blessing it is! What a blessing it is to see. I get a question. You do it so often, like you get sick of it. No, to be able to meet all those people and to see and to hear and to watch how personal and individual Heavenly Father truly is. Like, I feel so spoiled to do what I do. No way would I get sick of it. You can just, the stories I've heard and the strength in other people and to see what they're dealing with and what they're struggling with just blows me away. And that's truly where my strength comes from, is meeting and hearing from other people as well.
I think it's awesome because you talked early on when I was talking to you about wanting to serve a mission. I wonder if you could go back to your 20-year-old self who's dodging the elders, if you would have ever thought that you'd be here.
Yeah, I told them, I said, if you expect me to speak in church, I'm not joining. And also, back in college, back in New York, I got straight A's in college, except one class. And not only was it not an A, but I flunked it, and that was public speaking. And so, having said both of those, I couldn't have there's no way I would imagine doing what I'm doing now, not even a sliver of what I'm doing now, but that's why Heavenly Father is so great, because I know that there's so much more that I could be doing that I'm not, and the things that I am doing, I could be doing better at, like I know that, but the only thing Heavenly Father asks of us is to try. That's it, to just try, and the promise is if we try, we will end up in places we never would have thought of. And we will be doing things we never would have dreamed of. And we will become a better person. The person Heavenly Father has wanted us to become all along. And what a blessing that is. What a promise. And how real that is. Let's
talk about your boyfriend for a minute. How's that going?
Going so well.
you guys have one of those mushy Facebook relationships as I was kind of trying to find out some more. Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit of mush.
Oh, we don't do too much Facebook mush, but with all, I've never been asked out more in my whole entire life than I have the past few days.
I'm sure. Well, and that was the other thing too. Is it's like Tattooed Mormon. I'm like, okay, I'll click through. Wow, she's cute. She's a cute Tattooed Mormon, and it's just people reaching out to you, being like, hey, and you're like, wait, look, I have a boyfriend. How is he in all this? Pretty supportive.
And yeah, and that's the thing, it wasn't a hard time finding people that like me.
Mm-hmm.
and to get asked on dates. But the tricky part was finding someone that could keep up with me, because people like the idea of me. They like my testimony. They like, all of these different things. But what they don't see is that, I work full time. Yeah, I travel all the time. And Heavenly Father, I'm very committed to the gospel, and I don't want to just get by. I want to help people, and I'm very active in trying to do that. And so it was hard to find someone that was okay with me being so independent and proactive, I guess. And he impresses me. He has yet to stop impressing me with how supportive he is with not just how frequent I am traveling, but people who, and it's fine, and it's good. So,
how long have you guys been seeing each other?
He's only been off his mission not too terribly long. It's kind of interesting how we met. I met him while he was serving in Philly.
Oh, really?
He's allowed to, his mission was one of the few missions that are allowed and encouraged to have Facebook as an elder, to meet people and teach people on Facebook. And so usually all of the elders, Rochester, where I'm from, is one of the missions that can use Facebook. Philly, where he served, he could, and there's a few others. And all of the elders, they'll add me, and they'll use my blog, and they'll use my videos for investigators and post it on their walls. And so we've been in contact for over a year, emailing each other about the church and about his investigators and my videos and stuff. And little did we know that one, he actually lived in Utah, because I didn't even know if he lived out here. And so as he got off his mission, I felt like I knew him my whole life, and it just clicked.
It's like we knew each other before we came to Earth.
Got it.
No, I wanted to find out a little bit about that so that I could help deter some of those guys who might be continuing to ask you, hey, you want to go out? You want to go out? Want to go out?
And a lot of them, if they don't see a ring, it doesn't stop them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am absolutely sure of that.
No, but that's okay. I'm flattered. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Well, is there anything else? Oh, let me have you do this. Whenever we have someone come into the cultural hall, we always ask them to step up on the Rammy-umptum, which is it's a thing that we developed a long time ago in the early stages of the cultural hall, which is essentially an opportunity for you to tell people where they can find you, or tweet you, or Facebook you, or subscribe, and all that stuff. So go ahead and let everyone know where they can do any of those things.
Okay, everyone, my name is Al Fox. I am the Tattooed Mormon, but you can call me just Al Fox if you'd like. I'm not mad. And follow me on Twitter and my blog and my YouTube videos. Subscribe and share and use the internet for good. And you can, probably the easiest way really is if you just Google my name, Al Fox, A-L-F-O-X. Seriously, all those things are the first things that pop up. That's probably the easiest way.
What's your handle on Twitter?
22 Al Fox.
And what's the 22 about? Just your age when you set it up?
No, it's just my number.
It's just your number? What does that mean?
It's my number. It's my favorite number. It's the number that you feel like, even though you probably make it up in your head, you feel like it follows you around everywhere.
Yeah, I've got one of those too. Mine's 27.
So not too far off.
Yeah. What does it mean, though? That's weird, because I have a number, and I didn't think anyone else ever had a number.
No, I have a number. It's one of my tattoos, That's how committed I am to this number. But because it is my number, I just happen to be baptized on the 22nd, and, all these things just happen to happen around that number somehow, and I just love it.
Oh, it isn't just happen. Have you had any tattoos since you became a member of the church?
No, I sure haven't.
Do you have any plans to get your tattoos removed?
Yeah, no, it's so expensive and hurts, and they don't fully go away, and I feel like the youth listen to me more because I look funny. Yeah. And that's usually who I speak to,
All right, it's awesome. Thank you for taking some time with us. It's Al Fox. It's the Tattooed Mormon. You can find her on the cover of LDS Living, this month's edition, and you can also find her at give me the blog spot again.
alfoxeshead.blogspot.com.
All right, thanks for spending some time. So there you go. That's my visit with Al Fox. Make sure you follow the Cultural Hall on Twitter at the Cultural Hall. Make sure you find us on Facebook by searching the Cultural Hall and then liking us. You can always find all the interviews and blogs and different things we got going on, new things all the time, by going to theculturalhall.com. Or, I don't know. Is there something else we do? Oh, Pinterest. That's what it is. Pinterest. Find us on Pinterest. Carly's going to hate me that I forgot. We've got a Pinterest page. You can find us there. Thanks for listening to The Cultural Hall.